Hello and welcome back to Basis Rhythm. I am Lokesh Bhartiya, representing Department of Economics. So today we are going to discuss our second unit, that is factors of development. In the last video we discussed about population and growth, and in which we are discussing about something related to the economic development. But in this particular video we are going to discuss the factors of economic development. But before starting, we should have to understand what is development. So, development is a social and economic growth of citizens without any discrimination in termed as development. Like we are living in India and we have lots of diversities in terms of caste, religion, sex and other bases. So, if we give citizens without any discrimination like social and economic development growth, we could say these are development. Social inclusiveness is a necessary condition for a economical growing society to be termed as developing society. Like we are the fastest growing economy in the world and it is our need to be have very inclusive in nature. But without growth there is no possibility. So my friends, there are two things going simultaneously. One is economic growth and second is economic development. This economic growth and development having a direct relation. In economics theory, we can say economic growth is directly proportional to economic development, which means if economic growth increases, development will automatically increases. So how could we increase the economic growth? So there is an indicator or some indicators which representing economic growth like GDP. So if I say there is a rise in GDP, we could say there is a rise in economic growth and ultimately it increase the economic development. So if we have to increase economic development, we should have to increase the economic growth, and it is next to impossible that if a country grow without economic growth. So economic growth play a very vital role in increase in the economic development of the nation. Now how should we increase the economic growth? So there are multiple indicators that we can increase our economic growth, and the indicators are inflation, expectations, employment, foreign trade, so on and so forth. So if we work on this indicator, ultimately our economic development is rising. So that's how we can understand the development and economic development. But today's video is focused on the factors of economic development. So let's discuss the factor of economic development. So these are the factors. There are mainly two factors we could say. The first one is the economic factor and the second one is non-economic factors. So let's discuss first economic factors. Economic factors include natural resource, capital resource, technological progresses, entrepreneurship and population growth. So if you have to understand how could we increase this economic development, we have to understand it one by one. So let's get started with the first indicator, that is natural resource. You know, human is itself a resource, but there are lots of resources available including natural resource. We having abundance of natural resource, but the problem is it is available free of cost, and whenever the thing available free of cost, there is a problem of freebies available. So natural factors having conditions like the most important factor in influencing the economic development. A country had abundance of natural resource will ultimately increase the economic development and vice versa situation. So natural resource includes like soil quality, like we are living in a Madhya Pradesh and we are lived in a Bhopal city, so it will be considered in the Malwa belt, and Malwa belt had a black soil, and black soil having a water retention capacity and it is good for the wheat cultivation area. So Hoshangabad district having a abundance to produce Sabarmati gehu here. So this could increase the economic development. I hope you are getting my point. The second one is forest wealth. The third one is a good river system. Like again, we lived in a Madhya Pradesh and the lifeline of Madhya Pradesh is Narmada. So that's how if we use this resource, river resource, this way we can increase the economic development, and also the mineral and other resources which could lead the natural factors. The abundance of natural resource is critical for the economic growth. A country lacking in natural resource may be unable to develop rapidly. So to understand this, there are some countries in the world. If you see the equatorial belt of Africa continent, Uganda, Kenya, Somalia, Congo, DR Congo. So these are the countries which don't have a natural resource abundance, and that's why we see there is a nomadic tribe there. There is a huge migration through people from one country to another country, and that is one of the reasons they don't have the development in their country. The second one is capital formation. You know, for any country, for any state, for any city, division, district, capital is most essential need. So capital formation is proceed by which a community saving are channelized into investment in capital goods such as like plant, machinery, equipments, which increase a country's productive capacities. Like we just had a GSI, Global Investor Summit in Madhya Pradesh, and why we are doing so? We need investment from foreign because we don't have the abundance of capital here. So that's why we are creating and we are having this kind of sessions and this kind of investment summits in our state as well as in the nation. So if we have the abundance of capital formation, ultimately it leads to promote the development in the society as well as in the nation. The third one is the technological progress. You know, the countries had a technological progress will automatically leads development. I will give you some example, like if you see the Japan, if you see Germany, if you see Korea, specifically South Korea, and you know America. So this all country had a technological progress there, and ultimately it leads the development in their society as well as in the nation. So technological progress primarily entails research, the use of new and improved methods of production or the improvement of existing methods. Like we have lots of technology. Now I am giving you this lecture with the help of this technology, with the help of this YouTube video. But you know friend, YouTube is not created by India, it is created by America. So that's how this is the potential of technological progress for any country. Natural resources are sometimes made available as a result of technological progresses. However, in general, technological progress leads to increased productivity and ultimately it increases the economic growth as well as the economic development. The next one is the entrepreneurship. You know, our finance minister is focusing on these things. They had lots of policies to create entrepreneurship in the nation. If you heard about Make in India, Startup India, Stand Up India, these all schemes are promoting entrepreneurships in the nation. So ultimately, if entrepreneurship entails the ability to identify new investment opportunities as well as the willingness to take risk and investment new and growing business units. So like if you heard about Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola came with a new entrepreneurship skill, Coca-Cola Light, Coca-Cola Diet. So Coca-Cola Diet basically no sugar canes, and Coca-Cola Diet had a very huge loss in Japan. Why? Because it may be possibility if you ask Japanese that are you on a diet, they will slap you back because they are very concerned about the sugar. So that's why the Coca-Cola company will had a research in Japan why Coca-Cola Diet having a huge losses, and they observed they are concerned about this word diet. So they replace this word diet with light. So that's how this entrepreneurship worked very much. Then population growth. The world population, India is the world largest population in the world now, and recently we surpassed the Chinese population. I hope you are heard about this. So ultimately when we increase the population or population increases, it increases the labor supply in the market, and if you channelize the labor in a proper manner, you will increase the production and production capacity, and ultimately it increases the economic development of that particular nation. So the increase in labor supply is a result of population growth, which create a large market for goods and services, and as a result for more labor produces more output, which we just discussed. Output, income and employment continue to rise. As a result, the process of economic growth improves and it leads to increase the economic development. So these are all about the economic development, and one of the factor which leading the economic development is economic factor. Now we are going to discuss the non-economic factor. So the non-economic factors are like political factors, socio-psychological factors, and the education factor. Let's discuss it by one. So First of all, the political factor. You know, political stability and strong administration are critical to modern economic growth. We are in the Madhya Pradesh, and I hope you well aware of when Kamalnath ji was our CM and they had a low confidence motion for their government. So they resigned from the government and new government will took place as an NDA government here. So this political instability create a injustice to the economy. So ultimately, if you want to increase your economic growth and development in the society, you should have to maintain the political stability in the country as well as in the state. State don't have a political stability will face the problem of unemployment, the problem of poverty, the problem of other factors which are decreasing the growth of nation as well as the state. A stable and strong efficient government and specifically the honest administration, transparent policies and their efficient implementation fosters investor confidence. Like we just had a investor summit, we discussed it. So why an investor will invest in your state or in your country if you had a political stability? Because just for an example, if I am investing 10 crore or 10,000 crore or 100 crore in your state, I should have this political stability, because if I invested 100 crore in the state and what if the current government is resigned or the current government is collapsed? So as an investor, I need political stability here. Okay, so investor confidence and attract domestic and foreign capital, resulting in foster the economic development in the country. The second one in non-economic factor are socio-psychological factor. So socio-psychological factor includes social attitudes, how you behave with the people, social values, how your values will make change in the society, and social institutions like how many education institutions you had, how many hospital facilities you had, and other eminent facilities you had. So ultimately it influences the development in the state, which changes the education expand and cultures shift from one society to the next. And modern ideologies, values, attitudes result in discoveries and innovation as well as the rise of new entrepreneurship. In Madhya Pradesh, we called there is a mini Mumbai, Indore, and why we are calling Indore as a mini Mumbai, because they had a very social psychological factor influence there. They had a very modern ideology, I would say. They had very modern values with them, and they also had a modern attitudes to accept new things in the society as well as in the city. So that's why people are more interested to go and work in Indore as compared to the other district and division. So that's how you can understand the process of development in the state. And one of the major indicator of non-economic factor is the education. It is now widely acknowledged that the education is primarily means of development, because without education it is next to impossible to create anything. That's why we need education, and current government is also working on it. So greater progress has been made in countries where education is widely available, and there are lots of examples available, like again America and all European countries. They had a very high investment in the education. They want our children will get a good quality and I would say a modern education to compete the world. An example like for the government Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, मैं पढ़ता हूँ भारत बढ़ता है. So this kind of policies are making by the government to enhance the structure of economic development in the state. Now measurement taken to ensure economic development. So there are direct measures through which you can measure the development, like how many human resources you had. So there is a dilemma in the society that person is understanding that every human is a resource. This is not a case. Human is different thing and resource is a different thing, and human resource is a different thing. Every human is not a resource, and every human resource is not a capital resource, right? So you all who are seeing this video are a human resource. Why? Because you want to become a capital resource. A person having a human resource will become a capital resource to fill the gap. And how can we fill the gap? With the help of this skill development. So with the help of this video, you are getting some skills to become a capital resource in the future. So if you want to increase the economic development in the state, in the society, you should have to ensure that how many human resource you had. A country's human resource should be efficient in number and equipped with the necessary skills and ability in order to achieve the economic growth, and ultimately it leads to development. I hope you are getting my point. And the second one is the capital formation. Capital formation increases availability of capital per worker, which raises the capital and labor ratio even further, and as a result labor productivity will rises and leading to increase in output and economic growth, which we already discussed it. The third one is the technological advancement adds in the increasing productivity and limited resources, because we all had a limited resources and it is our duty to satisfy with the limited resources. But if we use resources efficiently with the help of technology, it leads economic growth to the society. Countries that have worked in the field of technological development grow faster than the countries that have placed less emphasis on the technological development. So we should have to focus on the other factors also, like this technological advancement. The selection of appropriate technology is also important for an economic growth, that which kind of technology we want, because every country had a different choice, every country had a different need. So it doesn't mean we should have to work on only the technological progress. No, this is not the case. The selection of appropriate technology is also important. The social factors, again, social factor include like what kind of custom you follow, what kind of tradition values you have, and what kind of belief you have. So all of which contribute significantly for the economic growth. If you see the world and the country who had a very high economic growth and development, you definitely understand they had a very different custom, traditions and belief to followed. A society with traditional beliefs and superstitions, for example, is resistance to adopting a modern ways of life. Achieving become difficult in such a situation because your ideology, your thinking is very rigid to adopt a new things. So you should have to be very liberal to adopt thing, right? The next one is the political factor. Political factors such as government participation in policy formulation and implementation play a very significant role in the economic growth. Like our present government is playing a very vital role to make policy for the betterment of the society. Like our CM recently launched a scheme Ladli Behna Yojana, which ultimately leading the women who are non-paid worker in the household, but still they do not get anything. So with the help of this kind of policy, they are supporting the females who are working in their houses, but they are not getting anything. So this kind of policy formulation and implementation play a significant role to lead economic development. Now the point of conclusion. What is the conclusion then? So we understand in the starting that there is a direct relation of economic growth and development, and it is our duty to make a balance in between. We should have to make a balance. It does not go beyond the thing. If we had a very high economic growth and we do not have a development, so this make problem for the future generation. So we should have to make a balance in between, and if we make a balance, we will succeed to get economic growth as well as development. So economic development is always linked with the economic growth, and this is next to impossible to achieve both simultaneously. So it is our duty, it is my duty, it is your duty to increase the possibility of economic growth through the above mentioned development indicators which we just discussed it. So I hope the lecture is interesting and will give an insight for this factors of economic development topic. So this is it for the today's video. We will meet in the next section. Thank you so much.